What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Vonnie coming back at y'all with another YouTube video. So, in today's video, I want to get straight into it, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this video, man, I really appreciate the likes and comments. I really do want to hear what y'all want to talk about in the comments, But let's focus on the topic. You'll get rich on accident if you just keep trying. You keep hustling. It's a simple line, but it carries real truth behind it. I mean, you'll get rich if you just keep hustling, keep stacking, keep doing the right things. At the end of the day, none of us really know what we want to do until we truly get into what we're doing. Like, you don't really know that you might want to start a business and it's going this direction, and then it takes a full 360. You find out you actually like to do this more, and bam, you're doing that. And it's the same with me. Like, I always thought when I became a content creator, I would be like a funny content creator, But, as I've grown, as I've done more, I've become more motivational, educational, and I like to, on TikTok, I like to sell stuff on TikTok. So, but I always thought that I would make it off of being funny. So, you always got things in your back pocket that you know how to do. But if you keep hustling, you keep doing stuff right, consistency compounds everything. So for example, your money, if you stay consistent, small daily efforts to stack money will result in big wins over time. Or like if you're being active, you got fitness going on, you're going to see the progress. You're not going to see the progress on day one, but let you keep going to the gym, let you keep stacking that money. You're going to see the progress over time, and and before you know it, you're going to look up and it's been 6 months since you started. And now, you got a lot to show for it. You're not really going to notice. Like I said, you're not going to notice at first, but it's going to hit. It's going to hit 6 months down the road. You're going to be like, dang, it's going to hit in the time frame. And then it's going to hit in like either your bank account or, what your body's looking like. You're going to be like, dang, 6 months passed just that fast. And it's all about, just taking care of yourself, man. Because getting rich on accident, if you keep trying, it's true. Because at the end of the day, your opportunities show up when you're active, when you're doing stuff. The more you move, the more chances you have to create. Like I said, you start a business doing this, but you end up eventually doing this over here, and now you know how to do this, so you can combine them. But this one's making you the most profit, so that's why you do this one. But you do know how to do this one. See what I'm saying? But you never would have did this one that's making you the most money if you never started this one. So it's simple stuff like that. Sitting still guarantees nothing. If you're staying still, you're standing still, you're sitting still, all of that stuff, you're not getting any better. But if you go out every day, you're hustling for your money, you're trying to create something for yourself, you're trying to create a business, you created that business, you're going out and doing that business every day, it's going to come. It's going to come. Be patient. Skills build without you even realizing it. You're going to build over time. And you're going to, like I said, 6 months. It's going to force you to learn sales. If you're doing finance, it's going to force you to be disciplined. And it's going to force you to solve problems fast. The more you do things, the more fast you're going to solve them problems that you have in your life. Because, at first, you're going to be just learning the skill. Then you're going to get the problem solving. Then you're going to get the discipline. Then you're going to get the sales. And then those skills are going to turn into money later down the line. Now, am I saying that it's all going to happen within a year? Am I saying it's going to happen within 2 years? No. That's why you got to keep going. That's why you got to let that momentum, become unstoppable. Let that momentum carry you. Because once you get going, it's easier to keep going. It's easy. Like me, for example. It's easy for me to keep going, keep trying to make money, keep trying to figure out ways to make more money than it is for me to stop and just erase all the progress that I've done so far. Because every time that I ever think about stopping, I'm like, why would I stop? And I've already created this, and I've already done this, and I've already earned this much, and I've already, I got a following, I got a pretty decent following on TikTok. 27,000 followers. I mean, it's not the highest, but it's something. And, a lot of people do look forward to my content. They comment on it and everything. Like, oh, this is hilarious. This is funny. And like I said, I don't even really make funny TikTok videos. But still, like, when I promote my ads, people think that stuff is funny. So that's why I post it. And you know, I love posting on there. You know, progress feeds more than the process. The process is going to be hard, but if you keep your progress going, the process is going to get easier and easier and easier. Because a lot of us like to overthink, and then that's when we stop earning. We start overthinking and we stop earning. And hustlers don't wait for perfect plans. At the end of the day, I started doing TikTok just one day randomly. You know, if I'm being honest, I got my heart broke. And I was like, man, I need something to get my mind off of this. And what did I do? I started doing TikTok. And where has that led me? A long way, man. I made pretty decent penny on TikTok. But where did TikTok lead me to? YouTube. Now I do YouTube. Where's YouTube gonna lead me to next? I don't know yet. But you know, I started one day on a random day. It wasn't oh, I planned it out for a month, I planned it out for a week. No. I literally picked up my phone and just started making videos. It's not gonna wait. It's not gonna wait. Hustlers don't wait for perfect plans. You know, hustlers, we just take action and adjust on the fly. Like I said, at first I was making, like, for my TikTok, I was making videos about me singing, you know, heartbroken songs. And then I started making like godly content. I really got into that. And then I started making funny videos. I only made funny videos for about a month and a half. And then I started making TikTok shop content and, you know, posting ads and getting brand deals. And that's what really was like, okay, this is my calling right here. I'm making the most money right here. You know, a lot of people still mess with me, even though people will say that you're selling out. But I only sell products that I like. So I think it's one of the best things that you could do. But once you start, you know, getting a little hustle in your step, once you stop overthinking and start earning, people are going to start noticing you. And then the ones who notice you might be an important part of your journey. Because now you've built a reputation. Oh, that dude's a hard worker. Oh, that dude can get the job done. Oh, that dude didn't know how to do this a year ago, but he knows how to do it a lot more. And he kept trying. He kept doing it. You know, opportunities, partnerships, and money all follows along with that simple mindset that you kept hustling, that you kept doing it over and over and over again. Because in reality, it's not an accident. If I'm being completely honest, it's not an accident. You hustled, you did what you needed to do. It's the result of showing up every day, of being disciplined, you know, taking time out of your day to do stuff. You know, a lot of people, they work their 9 to 5, they get off their 9 to 5, and what do? They relax, they chill, they do nothing 5 to 9 or 5 to 10 or 5 until they go to bed. You know, you only need 8 hours of sleep. So honestly, what are you doing from 5 to 1 a.m. that you could be doing differently? Because, and if we're being quite honest, you only need for me personally, I only need 5.5, 6.5 hours of sleep. So I'm up working, you know, all day long, and then I go to bed for 5 to 6 hours, and then I'm right back up working all over again. And I've been doing that for a minute. Like, it's been actually longer than my 90-day run that I've been doing that. But a lot of people aren't willing to do that. A lot of people, you know, they work their 9 to 5, they get off their 9 to 5, and they just chillax. They're like, oh yeah, it's time to relax, man. I had a long day. But no, that's when you need to kick it into second gear, because if you don't want to work that 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, you're going to have to do something like, you know, from 5, I say only 5 to 9. 5 to 9 is the time frame that you need to be doing stuff after your 9 to 5. If you want to take it a step further, you know, go to 11, something like that. But at least give yourself them 4 hours to do something different. You know, work on your business, create content. You know, that's what I do. I get off my 9 to 5 and I create content. And if I know that, you know, if I know that I'm going to be working a 12-hour shift, why not, you know, create a bunch of TikToks here, a bunch of YouTube videos here. You know, I know what I want to talk about. So figure out what you want to talk about. And, you know, while other people are hesitating and, you know, they're working their 9 to 5 and they're out partying every weekend, they're out spending money ridiculously, you're going to be stacking, and you're stacking them wins and you're stacking that money. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to feel good. Honestly, I can say I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. And a lot of people would look at me and be like, "Hey, Vaughn, you're missing out on your 20s." I've had fun. I had fun at 18, had fun at 19, had fun at 20, had fun at 21. Since I turned 22, it's been all about making money, stacking, because honestly, once you get to a certain age, it feels scary to not have money. It feels scary. It really does. So that's all I really wanted to get into, man. You'll get rich by accident. I want to put that in quotation marks. If you show up, because, if you're showing up every day, we're saying an accident, but honestly, you're going to learn to invest. You're going to try new things. You're going to risk that money to make more money. You're going to build them assets. And at the end of the day, you're going to be cool. It was an accident, but at the end of the day, you started something that you were scared to go into, that you were uncomfortable with, but you still did it anyway. So it's never an accident. And you showed up every day. So it's never an accident. But we're just going to label it as an accident, because that's how the outside people see it. But that's it for this video. Appreciate y'all for joining me, man. If y'all can like, comment, and subscribe, I'm going to catch y'all in the next one. Peace.